tape. Let's dive into the tape.
Mike Rupp with a Yager-like salute.
Roll the tape.
Rupp with a shot. He's gone.
2 goals for Mike Rupp.
Look at him go. Tape the tape. Let's diggity dive right into the tape. All right, just a cautionary, Ranger fans, avert your eyes because you're not going to like what we're going to get into. But it's more of the bigger picture here from last night's game, big overtime win for the San Jose Sharks. There's a pick play that happened, and we're going to go do a bigger, I think, breakdown of this. Jason Demers and I have been talking about this, the beauty and the art of the pick.
Yes.
And it happens a lot in the NHL, but we're going to focus on the one last night. There's actually 2 picks from the same player, but I find it's one of those things that it's allowed. There'll be some discretion in there as far as is it interference, is it not interference, but I feel like in the game of hockey, you can get away with this play often and it frees up a lot of space.
Yeah, for sure. You see it mostly off face-offs. You see it a lot to just hold up, they call it. They call it different things, not a pick, but they say, we're going to hold you up real quick to buy some time. We're going to get some skin, meaning you just sort of brush up against the guy to reroute him or just divert him to give your teammates some time and space. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, as you talked about or will talk about, but it's a huge part of the game in order to create space and time for you in the offensive zone.
Yeah, so we'll get into it, and we'll show on the back side of this video some, we'll demo it. Yeah. But the big thing is not getting your stick involved. So you want to show right here, Jani Rutta. There's his first one. With that borderline could have been a penalty.
That was more aggressive.
And we'll just watch it through the first time, and then we'll bring this same replay back. Because then you have Mika Zibanejad on the second pick, loses his stick, and then it's just kind of a free-for-all. Bring that back to the top, if you don't mind, real quick. Schneid, do you want to go point out? Take us through, because you pointed this out to me. I actually didn't see this one first off.
Well, yeah, so this is the first pick, high in the zone. So especially 3-on-3, there's a lot of room to operate. You want to create space for your teammates. So that one was pretty aggressive. That one actually made...
He could have called that one.
Could have been called, because he just stepped in front of him. That was not very subtle. So here, frees him up to get behind the net. And then Rupper, if you watch here, he comes back over, same guy. This one's a little more, oh, whoops, I'm just going to kind of step in your way here. Sorry, didn't mean it, excuse me. And in the process, knocks the stick out of his hand. So could they have called one or both of those? Maybe, but it is a pretty common part of the game. And we can break down the finish here. But Rupper, I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, the way that this kind of shakes down and kind of, right here, pause it there. Bring it back a little bit. So what ends up happening, pause it right there. So you got Barabanov here with the puck, right? That's who that is, I believe. Anyways, you've got Jani Rutta coming over. And basically what he's kind of stating here is, I'm going to come over in basketball. Anybody that watches basketball, you always see the high pick.
Yeah.
See the big guy come up to the top,
yeah,
stands there. It's like you got the guy covering the point guard, and he starts going this way, and the point guard knows, get right off him, right off his hip. Paraphrasing here, I don't know what the lingo is in basketball, but in hockey, get right off my hip. So right here, Jani Rutta setting it, just go right off my hip. He's going to have to break stride. There's going to be some confusion. Do we switch? Do we maintain the guy that we have before? Especially in 3-on-3, these things are going to work, and they're not going to call it on most occasions in overtime, right?
Yeah.
So I love the play, and it creates some time, and it just kind of makes the Rangers scrambling all over. If you bring it back a little bit here, what ends up happening is now there is time and space. Keep going. Alexi Lafreniere, probably pause right here. This is a great pull by you. He's coming back here. Just stay in the middle. Treat this as more of a 3-on-2, and he kind of gets running out of position.
Yeah, again, it's almost even a 2-on-2. I mean, he's beat here a little bit, but he's on his backhand, so he's not really in a position to make this play yet. So as you roll it forward here a little bit, he cuts up. That's a big maneuver in 3-on-3. Stop quick. Miller still got him, but Lafreniere runs to him. He sort of runs to him to do his job. So now he's trying to do somebody else's job, which now leaves the tic-tac-toe play wide open. So I think if they just sort of held their ground, maybe bought some time for Zibanejad to get back in the play, they could have survived this. But I think they got a little over-aggressive, which in 3-on-3 is death, because now you're just opening up all sorts of seams for everybody else.
Yeah, and bring it back a little bit here. I just want to point out one last thing, and I'll tell you when right here. Okay, roll it forward, and I want us to keep an eye and get a pause right here. Keep an eye on Mika, all right? Mika Zibanejad is going to be right up there. And I understand the frustration. I understand it. That very well could have been called. But keep an eye on him and just go frame by frame when this puck goes in. Mika is going to keep it going. He's going to go put his hand up right as this ends, and he's looking back at the referees. He's like, come on, where's the call there? and that's my point. Nowadays in the NHL, it's so hard to score goals, and time and space is such a valuable thing. We just run it through if we had any more of the replays here. And, you need to find, I kept this on the Zoom. You need to find a way to create some opportunities for each other, right? And that is how you do it. You're entitled to ice.
Yeah.
If I get to this ice right here before you, I'm entitled to that ice, man.
Right.
It's my ice.
Yeah.
I own it right now.
Yeah.
I can't go in there and throw a cross check on you. I can stand there and get in the way.
Right.
And when your teammates use that and get off the hip. So, you know, one of the things I used to, you mentioned Daniel and Henrik.
Yes.
How good they are. I mean, guys, if some of you young folks are watching, and you haven't, young folk, it shows I'm old if I'm calling you young folks. But these two players were the best. in the National Hockey League, in the corners, and behind the net.
Cycling.
Cycling. And talk about, you were telling me some of the stuff that they did down there and how they kind of set picks, just knew where each other were at all times.
Yeah, I mean, they shared a brain almost, as we know with the Twins, but the way they operated in space, they were strong in the lower half, which I don't think people realize, but they protected pucks really well. They stuck their butts out and just protected the puck. And the same thing as Rupper said, they would create space for one another by coming through and maybe picking up a player's stick that was guarding the other one, and that would, you know, free him up to make a move. But all the time, too, that, you know, Henrik wanted people to come to him so he could almost fend them off, draw a guy in, and then he would send one of those saucer passes to Daniel, and they'd score. And we did it every time, and I couldn't figure out why teams didn't just go stand next to Daniel and leave Henrik alone, because he was always looking to make those plays. But they had mastered the art of setting picks for each other, of creating space for one another. Because they operated mostly below the tops of the circles, so they were in a confined space. And that's where the big boy hockey happens.
Yeah, and that's crazy too, because they weren't the biggest of boys.
No.
Like, that was the area where I was supposed to control. And believe it or not, I did get caught out there with them on shifts, and it's hell. Like, I can't. You can't get the puck back.
You're caught in the washer,
And you just you're stop and start and stop and go. Next thing you know, you're buckled and their hands are up. They're celebrating a goal. I just want to show one last thing here. So let's say, for example, Schneid's is my teammate. If you want to stand over here, and I'm in the corner digging, and this is the boards here. I'm digging for the puck, right? I'm going to turn the back to the camera. I'm digging, and I hear Schneid say, "I'm here," or whatever you want to say. Rupper. And so he's there for me to bump the puck to, but he's also there when I know that he's there. If I can get this puck battle and get out, I know I'm going right off him. I'm turning like this, and he's just going to stand there. That guy that was on me is going to either have to jump around you, but then you do the oops and turn into it too. You walk, you kind of like, you're there, and then you kind of do a drop step, and you're still in the way. Now I peel off, and I got all the time in the world. We got more clips, like I said, that we'll jump into down the road. Connor McDavid does this. Nathan McKinnon does this. I mean, you've got to find ways, and it's that oops by accident. Bumping up on the guy. You're not going to get called for that. Like, it's a way to kind of beat the system, if you will, for offense.
And you brought up a good point quickly on that clip. Some teams, they play those, they call them pick plays. They play them differently. Some are man on man, where you say, hey, you got to fight through the pick and get around and stay on your guy. And some teams play a switching, where, hey, if you get picked, you're going to take the guy who picks you, and your other guy's going to slide around and pick up the guy with the puck. So you can create confusion. Point. You can create confusion depending on the defensive coverage of teams on who has who, and it creates that hesitancy, and it gives you a couple seconds to operate and make a play.
And that's a fantastic point, because everybody has those things in place. The coaching staff gets that message across. But when you're in that situation real quick and I get picked, I'm working on fighting through the pick, and you have to have that communication. Switch or fight through or stay or whatever it is. It creates some confusion, and that's what they did in the game, and Ranger fans were confused why no penalty was called. But, hey, nice execution there by the San Jose Sharks in overtime.